Yeah, well, the guy that wrote that was like, you could tell he's like a crypto scammer. He like advertises it in his fucking. Let's crack open the Zevia, nice little bit of happiness. Sponsored by Zevia one day.
Is this good? Am I in frame? Oh,
you're in frame. You're good. I think we actually officially started the podcast. What up, Jay?
Oh, what up, dude?
How we doing?
Appreciate you having me here, man.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on after flaking on this thing for the fourth time.
Listen, man, I'll take it.
We only live down the block from each other, so
yeah, 10 minutes,
dude. Thank you so much for taking the time. We've had the opportunity to we've been knowing each other for like 18 months at this point.
Yeah, about 2 years.
But
now.
it's crazy. It's crazy to think that like someone I've known for 18 months is like a closer friend to me than someone that I've known for 10 years.
Yeah, right.
Why don't you give our guests a little bit of background on yourself, kind of just like get us up to speed, highlight cliff notes of like what Jay's entrepreneurial career has looked like so far.
Highlight cliff notes. So I started what I'm doing now from a college job when I was actually selling door-to-door print and digital ads before digital became a big thing.
Wait, so you're selling door-to-door print and digital ads. So like what does that look like?
So there was a company called The Odyssey. They had newspapers for all the fraternities and sororities that they would dish out to the fraternity and sorority houses, as well as like, on campus and shit like that. And then they had these blogs online where they had X amount of impressions. So I would be going door to door businesses in Lexington, Kentucky, selling impressions on digital and then also newspapers. You get your big banner in the back of the newspaper.
Yeah.
So I was doing that and I became like the top sales rep in the company for the whole country. And I realized I'm like, dude, if I'm making 10% of a sale with this, if I could just figure out the fulfillment, I can make a lot more money.
Sure.
So that's what kind of kickstarted. I used that money to invest in some mentorship programs and just like kept learning and learning and learning. And I started my first company in 2018, right after I graduated college, going into that. So I had a digital marketing agency for about 2018 until 2022. And then people started asking about like how to run ads, how to help grow and scale and stuff like that. And because I was also personal branding at the time. Yep. And that's kind of what went into starting consulting on the side. And then I hit this crazy burnout phase in 2022, 23-ish range where I just shut down everything. I had 7-figure agency, just shut it down completely because I was like, I'm done. I hate this. I don't want to do it anymore. And that's what got me into where I'm at now, which is like full on consulting mode and then building info products.
Let's go into that mode of that season of burnout, right? Because I think a lot of people that are watching this have probably rather been there or will eventually get there at some point. Burnout's actually a good thing. It's a good indicator of like, where do I need to potentially like pivot, in my opinion. Walk us through, like, step into that season of your life and walk me through like what caused burnout. How did you get out of it? When did you like finally figure out that you wanted to go to this next thing? Yeah,
I think looking back on it, it was more of like, the burnout was caused because of what I was doing. I was not seeing the results I wanted.
Sure.
And, at the time I was living in Miami. So, kind of caught up in that whole like Miami lifestyle. I was living in a penthouse and I was just spending all the money I was making. I was like, I just have to make more money. So every time I would work harder, I just kept hitting a cap inside my businesses. And I was like, this is not the vehicle I need to be in. I got to be in something else. So I had an agency at the time and I was doing a little bit of consulting on the side. I had a partner in the agency and I had a conversation with him. I was like, look, man, like, I don't want to do this agency anymore. I'm going to sell you majority of my shares, which basically he ended up with 80% of the company. I ended up with 20, which shares at that level don't mean jack shit. Sure. But it sounded cool to say.
Yeah.
And I knew as soon as I gave him majority of that, I was like, well, I do the finances of all this. I know where this business is and I know, without going into all the details, I know it's not going to go where it needs to go as soon as I leave. So he's like, oh, whatever, I'll take it. I know what to do. Gave him it, kind of stepped out, and that business crashed and crumbled. That was a disaster. Shutting down the business was harder than starting up the business because there was a lot of expenses, all this stuff that had to be paid afterwards. And then I had a consulting program, like something small on the side, just teaching agency owners. And I was like, man, I'm just done with all this. I might as well just shut down everything and just figure it out. So I shut down everything, went through this like 3-4 month hiatus of just trying to figure out what the fuck I wanted to do. And I actually wrote a book on Airbnb investing at the time because I was like, well, I could be an author. I had like a couple Airbnbs. I was like, well, this is really cool. Maybe I could go into this space. And right before I have the book, everything, it's in a Google Drive right now. Right before I went to publish the book, I was like, this might be the dumbest thing I'm ever going to do. And I had the thought, I'm like, well, I'll be starting over from scratch in this business of Airbnb. Like, do I want to be known as an Airbnb guy? And I was like, my strong suit is marketing. I'm really good at marketing and branding. I was like, so I had a day I just thought about it. I was like, man, because I sunk all this money into it. I had someone ghostwrite it, and I kind of I bought into this program that told you how to like ghost edit books and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm just going to throw away all this money and just put this book on the shelf and never publish it and never do anything about it. And like, I think that was one of the most educated decisions I've ever done in my life, because I was like, my strengths are over here. Like, I'm already up here on marketing and branding. I'm like right here on Airbnb. Let me play to my strengths. So at that time, I just randomly posted something on Instagram where I was like, well, here's some strategy that I've been doing. I don't see anybody talking about it. If you want to learn how to do it, let me know. And I had a lot of connections because I was going to networking events all the time. So I had a lot of high level people in my network, and those type of people reached out to me right away. And I knew that I was onto something, because like, I want to work with these type of people. I want to work with people that I would consider my friends. And that's kind of how my company got started, how the burnout phase kind of transitioned from there.
Sure. Okay. So a lot of crap along the way, right? You highlight the moment where you started making money when you were in college, start crushing it on the sales side, and then you hire a mentor. Most people would immediately they're like, oh, what do I do with this money? Let me go invest in the stock market, or let me go invest in this thing. You decided to invest in mentorship. For those that are listening that are in that position, how important was that first step of investing in a mentor or back into yourself or your skill set prior to just investing in something somebody else has control over?
I think it's the most important thing you can do, because for me at the time, you got to think I'm some kid from Kentucky. I went to Lexington. That was like the biggest highlight of my life, of getting out of I'm from a smaller area in Kentucky. And like, when I went to Lexington, it was like the first time I saw like different types of people, and like, you can change who you want to be, basically.
Sure.
You don't have to be the small town kid that everybody puts these labels on. And I knew I had to get around the right type of people. Even if I didn't learn anything from it, at least even if this guy scammed me, at least learn like how he's making money, like what he's doing. So the first guy I actually bought a course from, 2 years later, he ended up in prison. He's still in prison to this day. I actually checked a couple months ago because I was curious. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he just ripped off somebody else's course and sold it. I don't really care. I got it. I got the information. But the one thing that he said that would always stick with me is, if you learn how to run ads, you'll never go broke. Mm. And that was the idea and the philosophy I've had ever since then, is like, if I can just get really fucking good at this one thing, I'll never go broke. And that's where I just put all my time and attention after that, and just being the best I could at running ads and branding and marketing. Yeah,
that's so good, dude. And on the mentorship side, I think you need to run the risk of being scammed by a mentor because the opposite is not taking any risk to go invest in mentorship, right, and not getting any good mentorship, right? So you have to be willing to go through the pain of potentially getting a bad mentor, which we've all had. And I think it's a lot easier to not get scammed today than it is prior, because the market's a lot more educated. Like, I have to imagine, at least on my end, I've probably been scammed by like 5 to 6 course creator, mentor type of people. But what it does is it gives you a feedback loop of, who should I not hire? How should I not do things?
I think that's really important, because when people say I got scammed from this person, I think that's not taking ownership. It's putting blame on somebody else. It's like, if you got scammed, okay, good. You learned something, not to buy that type of shit. Yep. But like, I always force myself. I bought in a lot of bad programs as well too. And it's like, I always learn one thing. And if you can learn one thing, it's usually worth the entire value, but you don't see that right away. You see that down the road.
Yeah. Everyone likes to put the blame on other people of like, oh, this guy scammed me. Yeah, that guy's a bad dude. Like, we're not saying that guy is a good person, but if you got scammed, you have to be able to take accountability for it, or else you'll never actually learn from it or grow from it.
Dude, the one thing I've learned in life is every single thing is your fault. You got scammed, it's your fault. Your girlfriend cheated on you, it's your fault. You got fat, it's your fault. You lost money, it's your fucking fault. Yep. And the sooner you can take ownership of it, the sooner your life changes.
Yep. So good, man. So good. Radical accountability. That's how you get to freedom. So now fast forward, you have AIA, the guy, like, you're known for being the ads guy, crushing it on that side. What was before we go into like the business side of it, like what was your relationship with money prior to getting this more lasting version of success?
It was a little bit of a roller coaster, to be honest with you, because I grew up in like a savings mode. Like, I think that's something that my parents kind of like generation, it comes down because like my grandparents were in the Great Depression. My parents were raised from them and then they raised me. And like, I think as I was growing and getting older, I always was like saving. Like, I don't want to spend a lot of money. I want to save it here and here. And then I moved into, and this is when my whole perception on money changed. I moved into an apartment with my friend Jeff Seckinger when I was in Columbus, Ohio, to start our businesses together. And I was in the saving mindset, and this guy was the complete opposite. He would spend, like very money comes to me type of stuff, and like it kept coming to him as he was spending, and like very like just like free with like if he wants something, he gets it. And it really changed my mind, and I went like full extreme with that. I was like, well, I'll just spend everything I get. And like the first $1 million I made online, I didn't have any dollars left after that because of that. So after learning that, I was like, okay, well, maybe I just got to be a little bit more intelligent with where I put this money. I can still spend freely on stuff that I want because I work my ass off. But it wasn't until like after making all the money, losing all the money, that I realized, okay, now it's time to like be a little bit more intelligent and like see a future, because I was kind of just living in the moment. Like, that was like during the times where I was like, going out to clubs, living the Miami lifestyle.
Sure.
And then once like I kind of settled down with my girlfriend Grayson, that's when the first time I really saw like a future. And that's where like a lot of stuff changed for me.
Yeah. I love G. Tell her I said what's up. Do you think everyone, specifically men, because we'll speak to men here, has to go through that level of pain of like fucking it up with money prior to then getting better with it? Like,
I think
do you
about
need your
like
hand on the stove?
99% of people do. I think there's like a 1% that just like they're smart with it out of the get-go. But I think like, what's the point? Like it's fun. I think you have to go through that. And it's like, we always joke about it. It's like, it's the new money phase.
Yep.
You can always tell when someone's in the new money phase. They're flashing their cars, their watches and all this. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, none of that shit even matters.
At any given moment, they have to let you know how much money they make. And it's funny. I love it. But it's a phase, right? It's, fuck it up fast so that you can get to a point where like you realize that it's not money, it's what money uses, what you can use it as a tool for.
Exactly.
Because here's what no one tells you. Like, let's break down numbers real quick and refute to me if this is inaccurate. But this is what happens when a young person makes their first $1 million of revenue online, and what no one's willing to talk about, because they all just talk about they made $1 million online on their ads. You made $1 million of revenue, which maybe at the course level, you probably worked your ass off and you probably didn't delegate that much. So maybe you made 50 to 60% profit. Fair to say, especially if you're running ads, that's probably your largest eater into margin.
Definitely fair to say, especially if you don't have a big team.
Right. So like if you don't have a big team, you can net 50%. So you net $500,000. You're probably spending another $100,000 to $200,000 in the business if you're just a young dude. So now your net profit's $300,000. If you pay yourself, you're probably paying yourself $150,000 that you're taking out of the business, but you still have $300,000 to $400,000 of net profit that's showing in the business. And now you maybe have $100,000 in your bank account. Mm-hmm. So now you don't have anything. You have $100,000 in your bank account. Your business still costs $30,000 a month to run. And then come April, the IRS comes and asks you for another $150,000, even though you don't have it.
Yeah.
These are the things that most people don't talk about. And they have to go through like some version of level of pain, of getting into like some, like tricky tax situation or just a liquidity crunch and stuff like that before they turn around and say, oh, let me actually start running this thing like a business. Watching how you run it, it's been awesome being able to like work alongside you and serve you guys in the way that you guys run it. You guys run a tight ship, but it probably always wasn't that way, right? You had to go fuck a lot of things up along the way. Like what clicked for you when you started looking at this as like, I'm no longer self-employed. I'm now a business owner. I run a true asset.
That's a really good question. I think it was just like, you just get so fucking tired of it at some point where you're like, I'm making all this money. Why am I not stacking shit? And to your point with that, I think everybody goes to that. Like at that point, I remember specifically, I had $100K a month. This is back kind of in the Miami days, but I was spending all the money and like I had to pay my team and I didn't have any money left to pay them. So I had to take out a loan that was like a ridiculous high APR just to pay the team. And then I was getting fucked with the loan and then all this stuff and then taxes on that. So it's like, that's the stuff nobody talks about is like, you have to be smart with it because the pain and the threshold of the pain eventually will build it into something where you're like, dude, I'm not going through this again.
Yep.
Like I have to be smarter. Like I have other people that I have to care for.
Yeah. Cause like, it's like, if you level set, which I don't think enough people do, but this is something that Landon and I have level set is like, there will never be a situation, no matter what happens in the business, that we will not pay our people.
Yeah.
That's like, for us, that's like the number one core thing that we're like, we will always pay our people. So when that happens, there's a lot of pressure that comes aboard as opposed to like, if I'm just more of like the engine and the sales guy of my own company, I work, I make money. If I don't, all right, I can figure out a way to deal with it personal. But when you're responsible for food on other people's tables, it's a whole different ballgame.
100%.
What outside of that, what are some other things that they don't include in like the business instruction manual? Like what are some things they don't tell you about growing a successful business?
It's a fucking roller coaster. You know, even no one talks about it. Everyone just talks about their biggest months, how they make all this money. And most people just only talk about revenue to begin with. They don't talk about actual cash.
Yep.
But it's like, just because you have a big month doesn't mean you're going to have a big month over and over. One thing I've resorted to is starting to judge my business instead of higher highs, lower lows. So if you look at like a stock market or a stock graph, you have your higher high, lower low, higher high, lower low. And it's like, as long as your lower lows getting up, that's where I look at success. Because if you look and judge the higher high every time in a business, you're going to go fucking crazy because it's never an upward line where a lot of people think it always is. And I think also going into that, we have a lot of clients that come through, dude, and like they look at it on a day-to-day basis of the success of their business. So I always say zoom out. I think 1 month is still not a ton of data to look at. Like you need to be looking at it on a quarterly basis. Now, obviously, if you're starting new and stuff, you got to look at what you can. But I think for the peace of mind, like if you look at like a year view compared to last year or a quarterly view, but once you start looking week to week or day to day, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Dude, I want to give you a hug right now because 18 months ago, Justin, that I had met, vulnerably speaking as your friend, I don't think would have said the same thing. Right. That was something that was one of the biggest things I wanted to get across to you as a client of mine of like, there was a point, and correct me if I'm wrong here, where like you were still stuck in the month-to-month thing, especially before you guys really started including recurring revenue into the business.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, like you're going to continue to go crazy if you just look at this thing month to month. It's important to know what happens month to month, like, and most importantly on the cash flow side, everyone looks at the profit and loss, but they don't look at like the true like cash flow statement of it. But on a quarterly basis, that's like, Google, Apple, all these people, they assess on a quarterly basis. So what the hell am I doing trying to assess on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Right. So like, what have you had to learn about yourself personally over the last, I'll just say 18 months, because that's how long I've known you and have watched this shift in how you've matured in your business so quickly. What have you had to learn about yourself as an entrepreneur? Because that typically shows up as a reflection in the business.
I think just like what you're optimizing for in life. Like
Sure.
for me, I was like sat down and realized what I actually want out of life and kind of reverse engineered it. And it was like, one of the biggest things is peace of mind. And you don't get peace of mind by looking at the numbers and looking at a day-to-day basis or even a month to month. And like, I still have to correct myself to do it. Like I'm human. I'm not perfect. Like sometimes I'll catch myself judging month to month, but it's like, whenever you have that reflection, you're like, if I actually look at this on a quarterly basis, things change. And like, to your point, 18 months ago, 100%. And I think that's the beauty and like why this game of entrepreneurship is so addicting, because you continue to learn, and you continue to level up. And every time you level up, instead of like an actual video game, you're getting paid more.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. You mentioned like, optimizing, reverse engineering life. That comes like the way that I view that like tactically in the business is you scale it, right? A lot of people mix up scale and growth. Two different things, in my opinion. Growth is like, all right, cool. Let's build as much revenue as possible. Scale is infrastructure, profit margin, reverse engineering, what you want your life to look like, et cetera. You've done a pretty damn good job of that, especially when I look at people like Alec as an operator in your company. Like, how did you know and when did you figure out that like getting an operator, someone that you really trust, that you can essentially look at as a business partner in the business to run this thing, when did that like click for you?
I think it was just after having a bunch of bad hires. Like I always, like for Alec, for example, he started off as a CSM and I knew he wanted more. So I was kind of like dangling the keys of like COO, and then, down the road, maybe another venture, we partner up on something just to see how things go. Because like I look at it as myself, like I don't like to be having a maximum of something I can hit. I always want to level up and continue to grow. And when you find people like that are, you know, entrepreneurs, hustlers that want to continue to keep growing, you can't put a ceiling on it. And I learned that a lot through a lot of trial and error, a lot of fucking up on bad hires. I mean, I even had one before him. I hired, he did really good. And then he learned everything that I was teaching 3 months after hiring him. Yeah, man, I don't think this is going to work anymore. Like, I already have a couple clients that I've sold it for 10K for, and, you know, I'm going to build this thing up to 100K in the next month. And I looked at him like, okay, good luck. Little did I find out the only clients that he sold it to were my clients that he actually did scam because he didn't fulfill on anything he said or anything. And, you know, it's just like after bringing on people like that, you have to like kind of just learn. It's like a pain tolerance of like, how many times are you going to put your fucking finger on the stove before you learn from it? Mm-hmm. Hopefully once.
Yep.
But sometimes it takes a couple more times. You have to burn a couple more fingers before you really learn.
When you find the right guy, how important is it to focus on retaining that talent? Because here's the challenge, in my opinion, with A players is you run the risk of when you bring an A player in, they're likely good enough to go start their own thing, right? And so like the other side of it is if you don't bring an A player in, you got to go deal with B players, right? So it's not the risk reward is still there to being hiring A players, but how do you create a version of making sure that they can continue to like have an unlimited ceiling in the business?
I think the first thing is just having a one-on-one conversation with them, seeing what they actually want, and then reverse engineering it from there. And then eventually those goals and things change, but like you have to continue to level up in order for them to be happy with where they're at.
Sure.
So I think a lot of people they build people into their business that they know are A players and have really good potential, but they don't really fully understand what they want. And then vice versa, like you said, it's like if you're not going to do that, then you have to be okay with B and C players. And I think it's a little bit, you know, everyone says only have A players. And I think this might change 18 months from now, but like I think you need B players at certain parts in your company as well too, because if you do a good enough job and you level them up to an A player, they're going to be forever grateful and stay with you as you grow.
Sure.
But if you only bring on A players, like you said, like you're going to definitely lose some talent here and there.
Do you think B players can transform into A players, or A players are somebody that is like, that's just genetically wired into them?
I think it comes down to a percentage of them will. And I think it's also a lot with leadership.
Sure.
So if you have bad leadership, I don't care if you have A players on your team, you're never going to be able to perform. And then vice versa. If you have I'd rather have amazing leadership with all B players rather than terrible leadership with all A players.
Yep. It's so good. It's so good. Jocko Willing talks about there's no such thing as bad teams, only bad leaders. Mm-hmm. So that comes with the radical accountability you were talking about. Like every single thing is my fault.
Right.
Even if it doesn't feel like my fault and somebody really fucked up in the business, it's my fault because like I created an environment where that was allowed to happen. Right. Exactly. It's like, what can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
And I think like a good way to look at it, I grew up playing basketball my whole life. I always look at things as like in a basketball analogy. It's like you got your starting five and then you got five other people on the bench. Usually starting five, unless you're in the NBA, they're not going to be all A players. You usually have one or two people that are like 1, 2, 3 people that are really good. And you have the other people that throw the assists and they're out there doing a great job. And then certain days they really heat up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you have a good coach, the good coach can have everybody playing together. And I think that's really the recipe for successful business.
Yeah, that's so good. Well said, man. That's where I think business is just like, it's so close to sports.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it so much. Cause like I still have a chip on my shoulder from sports. And so I'm like, all right, cool. This is an opportunity to kind of bring the same mentality. Sometimes I bring a little bit too much intensity. My team doesn't love it, but you've seen it before.
I've seen it. We've all seen it.
So you're speaking about basketball, just random question, just because it's topical right now. Did you see what happened to like Terry Rozier and all those guys?
About the gambling stuff? Yeah,
insane, dude.
It doesn't surprise me. Like NBA's just been going downhill.
Yeah.
And it's just because like everyone's like saying shit's rigged and stuff. And it's like,
but it's like, dude, how can you make $22 million a year and be willing to throw a game for 50 grand?
Dude, I mean, I thought the same thing, but it's also like, if you think about it, if you're dealing with a mob and shit, you don't know what they're threatening you with. They could be threatening you with like, hey, we know where your daughter goes to school, sure, your wife goes to Pilates and shit. So no one really fucking knows what the deal is. And unfortunately, like the law doesn't care about that type of stuff, which is kind of like a whole nother subject, but it's like, no one really knows. But I agree. It's like let people play how they play. It's so much more fun.
Yeah. Have you seen you've seen a lot, having been in the Miami world and the online business space. So you've seen a lot of people kind of like sell out. What opportunities were presented to you to sell out, similar to how these basketball players have, and like how'd you navigate them? Because like once you understand this game, it's relatively easy to make money if you're willing to compromise your morals. But that also comes with a whole other subset of problems, right? Did you ever hit like a moral crossroads when you were going through this?
I don't think it was really like I was never big enough where I have those like people hit me up doing these like crypto scams and stuff like that. I mean, there was definitely, actually, there's a really good point. When the whole Walmart, Amazon, automated stores went for a boom. Yep. All of my friends, all these people I saw doing it were making a ton of money. And, I bought into them, and like some of them I partnered in and bought in with them as well, but they would just go sell it right away without any results. And like for me, I always had that moral code where I'm like, I can't sell something unless I know for sure it's going to work, because it's my reputation at the end of the day. And I think that's something where I did sacrifice a lot of money, because that was really good money selling those stores, for more of like the moral compass of like, hey, I don't want to sell my soul for this, because I don't have a good feeling that this is going to work, because it doesn't work for me. Yep. And dude, I lost so much money on those stores. I will say I did end up at one point partnering with one guy that was in the e-com space that proved to me that it worked. And we sold like 5 stores, and all 5 of them worked really well, but we just couldn't do it at scale. And it was like, you see those other people, I'm not going to drop any names here, but a lot of them made millions and millions of dollars, but now they all lost that money. They're getting sued from the FTC.
Yeah, they got to pay it all back and then some.
Yeah, because like they scaled something that they didn't have the infrastructure to grow. And then once the whole thing it was like a rug pull.
Yeah, dude, that was a huge inflection point for me, probably like 4 years ago when I moved to Miami. I was infatuated before I knew really anything about business that, oh my God, if you're making money, like all money is created equal. So the more the money you make, the better you must be at something. Until I started to understand these business models. And then the Walmart, Amazon, FBA automation, YouTube automation, all these types of things. I was like, intuitively, I was like, this doesn't work. Because I would ask these people, show me your page. And they'd show them that they're not making that much money. And then you look at it from like the perspective, you're saying it doesn't work at like economies of scale. So like maybe you can have 5 clients and it works for great. And where most people go wrong, in my opinion, is they're willing to sacrifice everything now, their reputation, their moral high ground, all that type of stuff, for a bunch of money now, just to realize that in 5 years, they lose their reputation, so they can't stay in business. No one will ever do business with them again. And they run the risk of going to jail, if not paying all these fines and all the money back regardless. And the government finds out about all of this shit, especially if you're running ads, right? Because now you're on the FTC's radar as well. Exactly. So like when you look back at it, you didn't lose out on money because of the fact that like you would have probably got caught up in this shit. You lost a little bit of opportunity cost on the front end, but now you're able to secure revenue forever because you still have your reputation intact. Exactly. I think that goes pretty understated of how big reputation is. Like how big is that to you, of just like personal brand online, but also just personal brand in person?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like one of those things. It's like, if you can look at it on a longer term basis, which surprisingly at that time, I was on such a short horizon of making my decisions. I'm very surprised I kind of thought about that. But I think the real answer for that is like how I grew up and like how my parents taught me to be like, a normal, decent fucking human being, which is kind of hard to find those type of people nowadays. But it's just like, I think a lot of it's just like how you grow up too. Yep. Like some of those morals and things stick with you for life. And again, I think a lot of what you're taught growing up needs to be changed, especially like for me, like the money side of stuff. Like I was saying, I was like trying to save everything, and that wasn't working for me at the time. But I think also like the morals I grew up with that my parents and grandparents helped me out with were like the things that kept me on a pace where like, I'm making the right decisions overall.
Yeah. And having met your parents, I could completely understand that. I'm kind of glad my dad whooped my ass when I was younger, because that whipped some fear into me of not doing anything stupid. Okay, so business is going well. You're known as like the Facebook ads guy. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but like you're crushing it. Yeah, but Meta ads, both, Instagram. Yeah, I guess it all owns the same shit. But talk to me about like the landscape of what your business looks like now, and then I want to. layer on top of that.
So, I mean, obviously we've been talking a lot about it recently. We're making some bigger shifts where, you know, it's really cool to see because like before it was like one LLC, one company. And it's like, we've grown so much more that now we're going holding company with different LLCs underneath, different like, different offers, different products. So it's really cool to see. And like, I think for me, like the whole goal of where we're going at with this is like, I want to have portfolios of companies that we can sell in the future that aren't tied to me. And that's where a lot of my mindset has changed recently because, you know, ironically, I got in this space because I'm like, dude, I want to be famous. I want everybody to know me. I want to be seen. Like, I want to be that brand. And like, honestly, bro, over like the last year, I don't even want to have a brand online. Like, I don't care to at this point. Like, I don't do many podcasts like this anymore. I used to do a lot of them, but it's like, I want to be, and it's completely night and day difference. Before it's like, I wanted to be the face of everything. And now I'm like, I want to be the guy behind the scenes that nobody knows about because like, especially like everything that's been happening in the world. Like, I mean, you look at Charlie Kirk, for example, super devastating, but like, that was just a whole nother thing in my mind. Like, I just like, there's a lot of crazy people out in the world, bro. And it's like, when you run ads, and I've been running ads for 6 years now, you see those crazy people every single day. I have people every single day telling me, go kill yourself. I hate you and all this. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea who you are. They're just trolling online. It's like, it doesn't bother me, but it's just like, those things stack up. And eventually you're like, I think there's a good point of like online fame. And then there's like an access, like just too much of it where it can do you harm.
Sure.
And I'm kind of like in the point where like, I don't love it, but I know it's important. So I want to be like kind of that low key, like respectful range.
Yeah. I thought you were famous when I first met you. And that's why I'm huge about preaching, like to be in an online world, especially like a lot of people we hang out with. I think sometimes it gets lost of how big and important it is to build your personal brand offline. Everyone thinks of personal branding as just something online.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's actually more important, especially with the shift that you're having, is how big is my personal brand offline? Because I can still get significantly more results, if not the same results, behind the scenes, and not have to be so publicly known by everyone. Because like when I have kids, dude, I don't want people online seeing all that stuff. Like I now understand why people like blur their kids out of photos and stuff like that. Like it's a fucked up world, man.
Bro, I don't even like, me and G talked about this, my girlfriend.
Yep.
I don't even post her my stuff now. And we're both mutually understanding of that. It's because I have so much traffic. Like I have, 3 to 8 million people on my Instagram, like views every single month. And I'm like, not all those people are good people. Sure. So that's why like, I don't post her pretty much at all anymore is because I don't want them going to her profile and stuff because people would go to her profile and say shit about me.
Yep.
Like, I don't even know you, dude. Get out of here. This is my girlfriend. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And it was just like bad energy. It's like, I don't need she doesn't need that. I don't need that. So like, that's why like, I'm like just staying laser focused with it and kind of really building towards like the end goal of what I want.
Sure. So how has it differed with building your business as like just a normal, hey, we got this one thing, we're operating inside of it. We're typically working inside of it and on it at a certain percentage of the time to now shifting towards we're building a holding company. We're building at the portfolio level. Like what switch had to flip for you?
Just getting aligned with my goals, and I think that was probably one of the hardest parts is, most people have no fucking idea what they want. And every time I thought I knew what I wanted, I didn't. And even today, I'm sure a couple of months from now or a year from now, it might change. But like having like a North Star, like longer term, like a 5 to 10 year plan and building to that. Because like I said, it was like, I've made that transition from, making those decisions in the, like to be like living in the moment to thinking a little bit farther ahead to thinking longer term. Like, when I have a family, what do I want to do? And I think a lot of that's been really helpful because people that I've admired and looked up to, like I've seen them make that transition and see where they're at and like having those conversations with them of how they're optimizing their life of what they want is kind of similar to what I want. Because like I said, I don't want to have like, I want to have kids, but I don't want to have kids and then the whole world knows who they are and stuff like that. Because if you look at like people like Mark Zuckerberg, for example, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions on security every year. And if you have kids like that go to a school, you probably have to have a bodyguard that sits right by them every day.
Yep. It's crazy, man. If you could go back in time and reverse engineer figuring out what you wanted earlier, what would that look like? For someone that's just watching this, that we don't want to see go through the same amount of pain that you and I had to go through of like trying to figure this shit out for the last 6-7 years. And typically we find out what we want through what we don't want. How would you do it differently?
I think first things first, having the expectation that you're never going to figure it all out. You're going to go through a lot of trial and error, and be okay with that, because that's part of the game of leveling up. But most importantly, finding that person that you look at their life and you study them to realize, hey, I want a similar life to them. I don't want the exact same life, but I want to have a similar life that I can build upon, and like stick with that one person until you surpass that person and do every single thing they say. And then until you figure out, okay, well, I want to divert and do things a little bit different here. But like, I think where a lot of people mess up is, one, they don't know. Two, they don't have anyone to look up to. And three, they have the shiny object syndrome of, falling for the wrong shit online by the people that have the supercars, the people that are flashing their lifestyle. And like, I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen online. There's a lot of people now in their 20s and 30s that they have like 4 exotic cars. They live the penthouse. They show all of this money they're making. But then there's these videos coming out where it's like the guy is texting people saying, oh, I don't even have 20 grand to pay my team. And it's like, you gotta do your due diligence. That would be the biggest thing I would say, is do your due diligence on where you want your life to be, and like who is living something like that is actually living that lifestyle.
Does it motivate you knowing that you're that person for a lot of people?
It does. But I don't really think about it like that, to be honest. And I think, I was having a conversation with G last night actually about this, because I had dinner with some friends, and one of the guys is doing more than me. And it was really motivating to talk to him about it. And I was talking to G about it. I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of like him, but, because we travel, we host masterminds, but like, and this isn't meant to be like the wrong way, but like all my clients are like, they're learning to be like what we do. So like I'm on that next level, and it's like, you have to surround yourself with people that are on that next level to continue to motivate you. So I think yes, but like, I don't really think about it like that too often, to be honest.
Sure. It's funny you say that, because most of my clients make more money than I do.
Yeah.
That's like part of our offer, right? It's like, hey, if you're doing 100 million in revenue, we can serve you. And it's kind of cool that what I've learned over time is that there are people at that level that still look up to you in some way, shape, or form. Like, you're still a leader and a level of influence in their life, regardless of how much money people make. So it's also like just what you're saying, and I know this isn't what you fully mean, but I don't want people to get it misconstrued as like, just because someone's making more money in your business means that you have to blindly follow everything that they do and how they show up.
Right.
Let's take some tidbits about what they're doing and how we can optimize their business. But like, there are more than enough people that I know that make significantly more money than I am, that I want zero to be a part of at all. I don't want to show up anything like the way that they do.
Well, I think it's a lot like building a cake, right? Like you have a little bit of here, a little bit of there. It's all recipes, and you have to figure out which recipes work, right? Sometimes you have to try some recipes that make the cake taste like complete shit, but then you learn from it, right? And I think that kind of like what we're talking about, a lot of entrepreneurship is making those mistakes and then learning from them to figure out what you want. Because like, I made those mistakes where it's like, well, I just want money, 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 money. And then once you start getting the money, you're like, okay, well, I don't have friends to hang out with. I'm just sitting in staring at a computer screen all day. I got to re-optimize my life a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, man. Real good. And I know you travel a lot. I get the opportunity to travel with you. A lot of times we do those masterminds. Sick. What's the best place you've ever traveled to? Random tangent question.
The best place I've ever traveled to, man. I can't say there's a best, because it's kind of like back to that cake analogy. There's a little bit of greatness everywhere you go.
Sure.
But I think like for me, it's always something new. Like we do those Europe trips for our masterminds quite a bit, which I think it's really cool because it's always something different. Like we did Mykonos one time. We did Ibiza, which was completely different. And, then the whole Spain one too. So I think it's just like, there's a little bit of everything out there. And I think like, for me, what I really love to kind of answer that question is like going over to Europe, because it's usually around a 6-hour time zone difference, where before the US wakes up. So it's like, you can kind of experience a different life. Like you can get your stuff done. You can go without being interrupted. You can go experience like the whole world over there. And then by the time you're done, like the US is just now waking up where you can go get stuff done. So like, I think if I had to put one, I'd say Europe in general.
Yeah. Europe's a cheat code. Asia, not so much in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, which is a hot take for you. Like, I think everybody thinks, like, this is just my experience. Everybody raves about Bali and how great it is. You couldn't pay me to go back there.
Bali fucking sucks, dude. Like, there's no way, shape, or form that you go there and don't get food poisoning. And it's luxurious squalor. So you got all these amazing things that don't really cost that much money, but then everyone that actually lives there is poor. The people that are there are super nice.
Super nice.
But you have to be so dialed in with what restaurants you go to just to get some smaller level of food poisoning. Not no food poisoning, just a smaller level of it.
Yeah, you definitely hit it pretty hard in Bali with all that. But I think, dude, one of my funniest memories of that was when it rained every day when we were in Bali. And it didn't just rain. It was like torpedoes, like hurricanes.
Torpedoes!
It was
monsoons.
Everything, bro. Maybe we just got bad luck with when we went to Bali, but it was like the worst weather I've ever experienced in my life. And I mean, I thought we were going to fall off a cliff one night because of how rainy and windy it was.
Yep.
I digress. One of my funniest memories was, I don't know where we were. I think we were leaving the mastermind and you had your little fucking moped and you're like, yo, you want to come with me? We're going to go hit some shops. It was like nice, sunny. I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, let's go do it. We get on the moped. As soon as we get on there, it starts downpouring or something. And like, we're trying to drive through Bali traffic, which is absolutely the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. And we're on this little moped and then we go through like this thing of water, like this big. And as we're going through, I'm like, bro, we're going to get stuck. We're going to probably like drown in this thing or something. Yeah. And there's this water everywhere. And we get done. We come back to the house and we're just completely drenched.
Yeah. Mind you, Justin and I are both over 6'2", over 200 pounds on a moped that probably only fits one person. And it's my first day driving this moped on the opposite side of the road. So I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. We buy a brand new shirt. I wear the shirt. Then it starts downpouring and we get stuck in that puddle. And, honestly, one of the more fun memories that I've had in a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Scary, but definitely really good time.
For my life, multiple times that trip.
You've mentioned G a lot in this podcast, and I know how obviously important she is to you in your life. And she's become an important figure in my life. Just someone that I love to see all the time. What would you be doing if you didn't have a girlfriend? Like how would things change? And like how important is your relationship to you? Because obviously I know it is, but
yeah. I think I'd still be kind of in that same position I was in Miami, to be honest with you. I see people that are similar in a ways where I'm at, where they're making good money, but they're still stuck in that lifestyle. And it's like, and this is just a rule for me. Everyone can take it how they want, but like if I buy into a mentorship or want to like learn something from someone, I don't buy from single people. Just because, like, no offense to them or not, but like they just have different morals. And I think it's not a bad thing to be like that. Like I take that back. Like if I see them going out partying all the time, there's two different types of people. If they're the single that's going out partying, like posting about, all the girls or all the guys they're with, like to me, it's a huge red flag. But where if I see other people that they're stable, they're in a relationship, I'm like, okay, well, they're looking a little bit more longer term. Or if I know them and like they're a good, genuine person, then I'll go from there. But like, I kind of look at those red flags that where every time when I've made a wrong decision investing in someone in the past, it's because they're promoting the lifestyle. They're single. They're going out and promoting, like, hooking up with all these type of people thinking it's a really cool thing. And like, don't get me wrong, everyone goes through stages. But like for me in my education where I'm making those decisions on people I invest with and spend time with, they're either not in that stage. If they are single, like that's perfectly fine, but they have to have the right morals to be around.
Yeah. I'm glad you re-explained that because we would have clipped that one thing you just said and you would have been the most hated guy on the internet. Single people have no morals. Fuck you.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad if we maybe start the podcast like that.
Yeah, there you go. Clip that.
Here comes 100 hate messages.
Yeah. For those that are looking to invest in mentors, things like that, like how do you, especially, and I want to reverse that for a second, for people that run a business such as yourself, that a lot of the way you gain traction is based off posting your lifestyle. How do you combat that now with how the way things are shifting? Like, how do you make sure that you're staying congruent to who you truly are while still trying to attract eyeballs on a screen?
Yeah. I think it's just being authentic. Like, if you're going to go do cool shit, post cool shit. But like, you know, if you're going to go rent a car, like, you know, don't act like it's your car.
Sure.
You know? So I think also it's like, and that's why social media has had a big transition for me, because when I first started, it wasn't like how it is now. And now it's just like, everybody's an expert. Everyone's a genius. Everyone's amazing at what they do. And it's like, you know, I think it's just one of those things where you just have to be authentic and be yourself, because if you're not, like, people can tell through the bullshit. And like, for me, like, I think the way to combat it is by showcasing your skill sets.
Mm-hmm. What do you like as a human? I feel like this is something you and I don't talk about enough. Just like, you know, I see you pretty often, and by pretty often, I would put you in like one of my close friend circles, and maybe we see each other once every 2 weeks maximum, which is like, that's good, right? That's
depending on traveling.
Yeah. Just for my purposes and just to get vulnerable, like, what do you struggle with personally, like outside of business? Because like when I talk to you, just transparently, we're always talking about business, even if we're just chilling personally. Like, what are tell me more about Justin himself.
Yeah, I think that's like a thing I'm still working on finding. I mean, I love going to the gym. Like, I'm a very competitive person naturally. And when I'm not competing, that's when I struggle to find, I want to say enjoyment, but that's where I really struggle, I think, probably in life the most, is just figuring out what actually brings the most fulfillment, if it's not business or going out on dates with G or hanging out with my friends. And it's like, I think sometimes you just have to find the peace and just doing nothing. And that's where I struggle with a lot, is like usually on the weekends, to be honest with you, because usually Monday through Friday, I love to work. Like, I genuinely love to do it. But then it's like, it's Sunday, if football is not on, if something's not going on, if it's my off day, what the fuck do I do? And then I drive myself crazy. I'm like, I got to do something. And I think I get that from my family, because my mom and dad are like that. My grandma and grandpa are like that. They're always doing something. And it's like, if I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm just being lazy. And I think it's okay to be lazy here and there, because if you're always doing something, you never actually get a break to reset. And growing up, that's how it was for me. Like, if I wasn't in school, I was at basketball practice. If I wasn't at basketball practice, I'd be playing a game, or I'd be prepping for a game or something like that. So it was like always doing something. I think that's where I struggle the most with in life, is like, when I don't have something to do, how do I just relax?
Yep. I heard somebody say, if the devil can't get to you directly, he'll just keep you busy. Right. Cause like, that's something that I've like really taken to heart in this season. And our trip to Spain actually like changed my whole perspective of this. I just wrote it down, like, and it's something at the forefront of my mind all the time. Busy is the enemy. Tactically in business, he who works all day has no time to make money. We are constantly in our lives just trying to find opportunities to distract ourselves, to limit our ability and take accountability to like actually hear from God, your creator, hear downloads in your head, or actually just grow truly. Because it's a lot easier for a high performer to just go do more shit.
Yeah.
But what happens when we just sit still and don't do anything? And then pair that with true like silence. Could relate totally. But something that's been huge for me is just like understanding that if I don't get to veg out on a Saturday and watch football, I won't show up the way that I do in my business moving forward. Because it's like, more money will not solve the problem, because there's a diminishing return to how valuable money is to you long term.
Yeah.
Because like the difference between having $1 billion in your bank account and $900 million in your bank account is not going to really change.
Not much difference.
No. Right now, I can't attest to that. Right. Like, maybe somebody who is in that situation can say something and change my mind about it. But more so like really optimizing around, what does my quality of life look like?
Yeah.
And how am I intentionally creating time to rest? Because what you're mentioning about being lazy is not lazy. That's just intentional rest.
Yeah.
It's not like if you just sat on a couch and all you did was watch football or just veg out for weeks on end and not work, then yeah, you're a lazy fuck. But you're not lazy. You need that time. And I think I would argue that putting that time into your calendar significantly increases your ability to earn, create, all those types of things.
Dude, 100%. And I think, like, to give a little bit more detail on that, like the way I structure a lot of things, I look at like going in, and it's been super helpful for me, is going in what I call blitz mode, is where you map out like a blitz where you go hard as fuck for an X amount of time, and then you reward yourself and reset. And obviously you can't be going hard all day, but like having intention behind what you do. For example, like, hey, it's Sunday, I'm going to relax and just watch Red Zone for 4 hours. I'm going to hit up Antonio, Landon, and some boys to come over and just watch football. It's like part of the plan. Like, and I think a huge part of that that's been really helpful for me is like actually the traveling has been huge because that forces me to kind of like reset, and not like a lazy way, but also just like not have to be at a computer all day, not always have to be talking to clients, and like experience life and myself with G, my friends and stuff like that. So I think it's really just like, and I agree 100%. You do need to take time to think. Like yesterday, for example, Friday was like, I never take calls on Fridays. And it was the first day where I was like, I had a lot of the stuff done I needed to do. So I'm like, what do I want to do today? What have I been putting off? And I was like, well, one of the things is like, I want to restructure my entire office. Like I've been putting that off because I was like, it's not a money making skill, all this stuff. And like, I finally did it. And like today I went back before this podcast. I was like, dude, I feel so much more refreshed.
Yep. I love that stuff, that level of clarity, because like there's things that you can do that still bring you rest as well, right? Rest doesn't always have to look like just sitting down and physically resting or going in a cold plunge. It can be like, for me, a portion of rest is being around you guys, being around, your brother and stuff like that. Like you guys refresh me, you guys bring me good energy, fill my cup back up. What are some of the things like you mentioned about traveling? And as for someone like myself that travels 200 times a year.
You travel a lot, bro.
What's the flip side of like where everyone looks at the glamour of travel? After a nice blitz, you travel. Great. That sounds great if it's just like linear. Where like, all right, I work for 90 days, I travel. And then I work for 90 days. That sounds awesome. But when you're in the heat of it and traveling a lot more in between, have you ever found it detrimental?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think everything in life is, I mean, if you look at energy, there's positive and negative. At the end of the day, we're just all energy. Right? Sure. So like when you travel, you can just look at the positives, but there's also negatives behind it, right? It's like, well, you're not at your home desk setup. You don't have all of your resources. You don't have all of your mics. You don't have all of your, whatever you have, you're out of routine. But it's also like the pro is you're out of routine. You're resetting. You're doing something different. You're living the life. So it's like, I think everything, and I think that's where a lot of people get anxiety and get super frustrated in life is one, wrong expectations, but two, thinking everything is either positive or everything's negative. Because if you can understand that it really, you got positive, you got negative, and you got the middle. It's just what it's just what it is. And it's how you associate those emotions on how you feel about something. And if you understand that and you just understand it's literally just like me in this podcast, there's a lot of pros behind this, but I'm sure if we sat here and we were just bullshitting around, we could come up with some negatives around it too. But at the end of the day, it's just like, it's a podcast. It is what it is.
Yep. Yeah. Everything just that never really understood until I like you have to like intuitively feel that. It's not something you can like wrap your brain around unless you like start to experience it. It's like literally things just are. Mm-hmm. It just is. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What does is mean? That's like it is, period.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize that the way that we interpret things is what creates good or bad. Nothing is good or bad. It's the way that we, the way that I feel towards it. Because like this podcast could be good for me, could be bad for you because you had a bunch of other shit that you wanted to do instead, or vice versa, right? So it's like, but it's still the same fucking podcast.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man.
Podcast. You know who's really good at that and like really changed my life with that? And shout out John Whiting. You met John on my birthday, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's really what changed my life, because I would always kind of look at things of like, it's either good or bad. And one of the exercises he had me do, it's a little bit more in depth, but like one of the easiest things all the viewers can do is just whenever something is going wrong, right? Like maybe you're having an issue with an employee, or like that employee just really pissed me off. Well, write down all of the good 10 things that they've done, and then write down all the 10, like write down like what that one thing is. So it's like maybe like the employee fucked up on a client, right? And then what I would write down is 10 plus things that, he's done well, but I would also write down like, what was the thing he really did wrong? We fucked up with the client. Then I'd be like, have I ever done that in any part of my life? Yes. Okay. I'm not perfect. Cool.
Yep. So good. So good. Just looking at things a lot more objectively, taking the emotion side about it. Tough, much easier said than done, but the best people that I've ever seen at the most elite level of performances have a really good, unique ability to pause between action and reaction. To like, and a lot of times that pause is a millisecond once they get better, where it's subconscious. They can actually think through this thing critically and not overreact to a certain situation. Because the way that you react to things, especially inside of your organization, it might be irreparable.
Yeah.
I've definitely been there. So
I was just reading, good old Bob Proctor the other day.
Good
And that was
Bobby.
one of the things he talked about changing your paradigm. You have to understand that you don't need to react to things right away.
Yep.
Take time to think about it, because I'm the same way. It's like sometimes I'll send a 5-minute voice note. A minute later, I'm like, delete.
Taylor Welch told me the other day as well. He was like, typically when something happens, like the Charlie Kirk event and stuff like that, he was pretty silent on it for a little bit. He's like, I take at least a week on things like this, and I pray about it. I write about it multiple times, and then I craft a response around things like that. And I'm like, all right, if he's doing that, I should probably.
I think that's very intelligent, because like there was a scenario that happened recently that we were just talking about where someone passed away, super tragic. And, you know, I think, don't get me wrong, I think it's good that people are posting about it, but I'm the same way. It's like, I'm going to digest that type of information, because like, and again, this kind of goes to the world where we live in. Some people just say shit for views and because they want exposure. And it's like, if I'm going to say something, I want to be very strategic with what I say, especially if it's like a high profile type case, like the whole Charlie Kirk thing. It's like, I'm not just going to go out there and say everything like everybody else is saying. Like, I want to take time to digest this. One, just let my emotions settle. Because when you're making decisions on emotion and you say things off of emotion, you never really, a lot of times it can go the wrong way.
It's not congruent to who you actually are. And that's where, like, I know the exact situation you're talking about. We'll keep it, you know, we won't say names just for the, you know, the sake of how recent all this stuff is. But like, this is maybe a character flaw of mine, but like one of the things was, while I'm like, I didn't know this kid, but I was, you know, anyone that I talked to that I knew deeply knew him, I'd be like, hey man, if you need to talk, like I'm here.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way that people that I knew didn't know him were just outwardly kind of like, oh my gosh, this, and it's like, hey man, like we appreciate it, right? But it's, I don't know, it kind of rubs me the wrong way of like, people feel peer pressured into having to do something, and it like, they don't actually do it for the intent of like, praying for the family. They do it for the intent that they feel compelled that they have to do it to like save face. Yeah. It's like, do you remember when people were posting in that black square like 4 years ago on Instagram? I was so against that whole shit because I knew Black Lives Matter was a fucking scam the entire time. But the whole thing about, and hopefully that doesn't get me canceled, because obviously anyone that watches this understands the context of what I mean. But I still felt compelled to like, yo, maybe I should post that black square, just like through peer pressure, because it's that herd mentality. The way that people start moving is you just kind of feel compelled to do things because other people. But it's like, yo, think for your fucking self, man. Yeah. You don't have to post something just because everyone else is posting it.
Well, yeah, to that point, like, again, I don't want to get into all the details, but like, there's people like that scenario. People were just taking screenshots of like 1 or 2 conversations they had with a guy.
They needed to make it known that they knew the guy.
It's like, okay, cool. Like, who cares? Like, I like you said, I felt compelled to do that. I had a testimonial from him. I was like, maybe I should post it. But I'm like, no, it's one, I don't want to be disrespectful. I'm not saying it is, but like, I want to be true to myself of what I want to do. And like, everyone has their own ways of making them feel better. Like death, for example, is a very dramatic thing that happens in life, and everyone deals with it differently is what I found. But like, for me, it's like, I just want to stay true to myself at the end of the day.
That's the thing, man. It's like, I don't want to come off from a sense of judgment, but if you're truly doing it because it helps you grieve, great. But most of the time, I think people are lying to themselves where they're doing it for some type of egoic benefit.
Well, dude, even like, and this is what changed a lot on social media. I was actually telling you before this, I actually deleted Twitter once the whole Charlie Kirk thing happened, and then re-downloaded it to get some news yesterday about what happened. And the reason I deleted it is because when I first got on there, like the actual video of Charlie getting shot, like slow motion and everything, it was insane. Like, that shit should not be on Twitter. You should not have to see that. His kids should not have to see that. And the fact that everybody was reposting that was just the most insane thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it disgusted me, where I was like, I'm deleting this app because this is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen in my life.
I know, dude. It's so tough because it's like, what's the other side of it? Like, do you think we should have access to seeing things like that though? Like,
I think absolutely not. Like, someone getting shot and murdered in plain sight, I think there should be some sort of filter with that, where, because it's in respect to the family. Like, and again, then there's the argument, well, you're going to filter shit. Now it's like, that's why Twitter and this is like,
I think maybe just a graphic warning, right? Like,
exactly. Because like, I did not expect to see that. And like, I had nightmares from that shit after.
Dude, it was like, it's horrific for sure.
I would like to see like maybe like the setup of what happened, but like, I didn't want to see the whole thing.
Well, it's like for things like that, let me choose that I want to see it. Let it not just pop up on my timeline. But then it goes down this long list of like, all right, your Twitter, things like this happen all across the world. How do you algorithmically filter all of that to make sure all of it does? I'm sure they can figure it out.
Well, dude, even like the week before that poor girl got stabbed.
Yeah.
That whole thing went viral. And it's like,
that's crazy.
I think it's good for people to know, but like the whole stuff that goes viral nowadays is drama, death, gory, selling your soul. And it's like, it's fucked up.
It really is, man.
It's so fucked up.
It really is. We need God bad. Last question here. We have this podcast in 5-10 years from now. Where's Justin? Reverse engineer what success looks like to you 5-10 years from now.
5-10 years from now is I own a big holding company, which I've already started, where we have a bunch of companies underneath that we own equity in, and we're positioned to sell either a big branch or selling ones individually. And that's really where our cash out plays are.
For what?
In the info product space.
For what? Like the grand scheme of it. You sell it for X amount, great. Who cares? Not who cares, but then what?
Just to, like I said, I think the entrepreneurship is like a game. It's like a video game. It's like eventually like money becomes just money. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, everything's energy. Energy is not created nor destroyed. So really it doesn't even exist if you think about it. But it's like the competitiveness of me. I think it's just a fun thing to do, is just continue to level up.
What about personally?
As far as like family and stuff?
What is like all of these things happen on the business side? What changes on your life personally?
I mean, I don't like sitting here and saying like, well, I want all these changes, because I have an amazing life now. I love my life now. But there's other things that you can do longer term. Like I want to have a family. I want to be able to continue to provide for the family. I want to be able to continue to provide for my friends, family, things like that, and just be able to continue doing what I want when I want.
Sure.
Like at the end of the day, the main thing for me is just freedom.
Total freedom. I love it, dude. Well, dude, I appreciate you hopping on. It has been a pleasure to just be around you for the last 18 months, get to know you more, get to know your family, be entrenched in there, and serve you guys in business as well. So appreciate you taking the time, man. It's been a good one. I intend that we'll have a lot more podcasts as things continue to level up.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.